Hey everyone, it's MJAnime. You got Jack and Miles here. Back at you with another anime review video. You good, Miles?
Yeah, I'm fine. Really not that
That man
funny.
got hella
Alright,
serious.
alright.
I'm keeping this in. I'm keeping this
Let
in.
me actually.
I'm keeping this in, bro. I'm keeping this
Why?
in.
Alright. Okay.
All right. Anyways,
Okay.
today we're
Alright.
gonna be reviewing the first core of a new anime. It's gotten a lot of hype lately. Jujutsu Kaisen that came out in the fall of 2020. And we're going to be giving our general thoughts on it from the title. I believe you guys know our general consensus on this show. But yeah, we're going to get straight into it. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing to the video. Like always, if you want to listen to the audio version, go to Spotify at ItsMJAnime. Put all the other plugs in the description. We're just going to jump straight into this. Miles, you just recently watched it. How do you feel?
As you guys see in the title, I think Jujutsu Kaisen is pretty overrated in my opinion. I think that, yeah, it's a pretty good show, but I think it's just that. I think it's pretty good. People are putting this in their top 10, saying it's like one of the best anime, like, or has the best future for anime, stuff like that. And I think that's a bit overdone.
Yeah, I agree. I've heard great things from the manga, but I actually read the first volume. I have the first volume. Didn't seem anything too crazy. And same with the anime. It's like a pretty good show. Nothing more than that, in my opinion. I don't see how this is anywhere near like a modern masterpiece. How some other creators are describing it as. But yeah, let's jump into some specifics here and kind of why we think Jujutsu Kaisen a little overrated. And we're gonna start with one of the best backstories we've ever seen in anime. Itadori's grandpa, bro.
Yuji. お前は強いから人を助けろ。
12 seconds later.
じいちゃん、死にました。
I think that this is definitely one of the worst main character backstories in all of anime. It genuinely puzzles me, like, why this is a thing. Yeah, like the whole perfect death thing, I don't really think of it, like, you have motivations like Naruto or Luffy where they actually have like a goal. Itadori, does he really have a goal? Plus he breaks his goal multiple times throughout the show, like.
So after that horrible scene, we kind of get introduced to how he has to like eat these fingers of a legendary ancient demon named Sukuna, and that the Jujutsu sorcerers have been after for some time. And he's the only person who can consume these fingers, and there's 20 of them. So he consumes the first one, and he basically has a choice whether to die or to eat all the fingers and then die. And then he figures that because he wants to die the right death and help others, that he's gonna do this and save so many people's lives before he dies, which I guess is kind of cool. There's not really else much to his decision.
Yeah, I feel like it was just like his grandpa literally died like the same day that this happened, so it was very fresh in his mind, and he was just like, you know what, I'm gonna do this for my grandpa. I'm gonna help others, like all this good stuff. But I think the introduction to curses, that's where we also met Fushiguro, right?
I believe so, at the school, yeah.
Yeah, so we get introduced to him, and what do you think about him?
I don't mind Fushiguro. I think he's okay. I think he's a good contrast to Itadori, but I feel like he was kind of forced in there, and I feel like the characters in Jujutsu Kaisen have one trait about them, and they're not really three-dimensional in a sense. I feel like they all are there to serve one purpose and have one-dimensional purpose. So all three of them come together to create like a better dynamic than if they were on their own. And I just don't see that as enjoyable, especially when they're alone. So I kind of feel that way with all three of the main characters.
I would actually 100% agree with that, and I think this fills out to pretty much everyone else in the entire show. Like they're literally there for one purpose. There's like minor character development with all of them. It's only 13 episodes, so I gotta cut it a little slack. But like the development for some of the main characters, and especially the main villain, who we'll talk about later, is lacking.
There is another character that we get, Gojo, obviously, best boy. You already know. This man is the GOAT.
Gojo's actually, yeah.
This
He's
man,
a great character.
I mean, like, he's basically Kakashi, and there's no way you can go wrong with a character like him. He's just cool, like, handsome as fuck. Like, what can I say?
Honestly, this might be a very hot take, but I like Gojo's character more than Kakashi. I know, I said the show was trash, but I think that Gojo so far is a lot more entertaining than Kakashi, and I know that's gonna be a terrible take, but I have to say it. I love Gojo. I think he's probably in my top 10 anime characters. He's a really good character.
I mean, yeah, I kind of like the childish side about him. Like he's dope. He can do all this fighting and shit, but then he can like off the battlefield, he's just kind of like lollygagging and frolicking.
Yeah, he's like a funny character. He's also like the sensei, kind of like that figure, and he's also just the best fighter in the whole show. Like he's just so cool. I love Gojo.
I think there was also a bit of foreshadowing in here. Like Yuji was like, "Yo, Gojo, do you think if you had a one-on-one with Sukuna at his full strength, who would win?" He's like, "I would win." But I think that's foreshadowing for a final Gojo versus Sukuna fight. So I mean, we'll see. Yeah. All right.
Gojo.
Yeah. All right. So, and then we get introduced to a third main character, Nobara Kugasaki, I believe her name is. I could be wrong, but her first name is, yeah, it is actually. Okay. So cool. What are your thoughts on her?
I also think she's quite the one-dimensional character. Pretty boring. Her abilities are low-key not that cool. Same with Fushiguro. I don't really like his abilities that much. But I think that she's a pretty boring character.
I actually don't mind her abilities, but I don't really care about them if her character is not good. So regardless, I'm not a big fan of her. Maybe we'll see some character development. Like I'm all for like badass female characters, but she just came off as annoying in her first impression.
Yeah, because like all she wanted to do was like travel around Tokyo and stuff like that. And I was just like, okay. I don't really like her.
Maybe we're coming to this a little biased, but regardless.
No.
All right. So then we get a first mission to like that Seinen Asylum, and we see there, which is actually pretty cool. We see, I think we see a first glimpse of domain expansions, I believe, because they're like trapped in this thing, and I think it's subtle. They don't really mention it, but I forget. But I definitely know that they are in one, and Itadori gets his first glimpse of the fact that he might not be able to save everyone, because that worker guy who was killed by the curse, I forget exactly, but
yeah. So I remember they said it was an imperfect domain, which means I don't think that like all the attacks landed, which is like the best part of the domains. But we also see like the perfect domain of Sukuna in that arc,
which is also a really cool power. I like this a lot. I think the power system is not bad in Jujutsu Kaisen. I like domain expansions, so I'll give it credit for that.
Yeah, I think it's low-key a lot like Nen, because you can like do whatever power that you want. I think it's a pretty flexible system too. I like it.
Right, and I think domain expansions are evened out when we realize that they're like pretty easy to get in. Like it's almost impossible to get out of them, just because the user can do whatever he wants to control it, but it's pretty easy to get in because the whole focus is on the person inside, which is pretty cool.
So the next thing, like the next major event that happens, is in the Insane Asylum battle, Itadori actually dies, and what happens is he dies, and then he gets like not really resurrected, but pretty much before he's about to die, I think Sukuna talks to him and he says, "Look, I want to use your body like you're really strong, right? And then we can make this pact." Is that correct?
Yeah,
Or
I
am
think.
incorrect?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think that Sukuna is about to kill Fushiguro at one time, but because of a pact that he made previously when Itadori was about to die, he can't kill or hurt any of his comrades in exchange for like a certain amount of time that Sukuna is allowed to come out.
Yes, and is that all for that arc?
Yeah, that was a really short arc. There wasn't much to it. I mean, obviously,
Like a
I
couple
think
episodes.
yeah, we have like a sub arc, which is Gojo versus Jogo, which is a fantastic fight, man. This fight was amazing, honestly.
Yeah, it was just a complete beatdown of the lava guy. Like he got absolutely destroyed.
Agreed.
He had no chance in that entire battle.
I think Gojo. I mean, we obviously saw infinity, which is like Gojo's abilities, which is like he can create infinite space in between, like basically wherever he wants, and his domain is sort of basically infinity, like space. So like, it's a crazy ability. I think any man would fall for his eyes.
Yo, his eyes, bro. I don't know. But yeah, it like his ability is just insane. He can pretty much not be touched, which is broken in itself. Like he has this little space of like yeah, like you said, infinity. That's not even when he's in his domain. Just normally, like he just can't be touched.
Yeah, it's actually insane.
Like super powerful.
All right, and then we kind of get introduced to the Kyoto people, which has some cool characters, some not so cool characters. I mean, I personally like the panda and the food guy. I forget his name, but he only talks in food. And then he had this really cool
Togi.
moment. But yeah, I think those two are pretty cool, but the other two not so much. What are your thoughts?
I like Togi's power. I think it's really OP, and I hope in this next upcoming arc that we actually get to like see how it works properly. Because I think that's probably going to be one of the most cool abilities in the show. Also, how can you not like Panda Man? He's a panda. Like,
But yeah, that was a brief introduction. That was a brief exchange, and I'm sure we'll get introduced later and hopefully get some backstory into those characters in the future exchange event, which I think will have some cool fights.
now is the main part of the arc, right?
Yeah,
Where we
it's
get introduced to Junpei, who I think is actually a very, very good character. Probably one of the best in Jujutsu Kaisen.
I would agree. I think Junpei and Mahito's story, it's short, but I think it's very complex. I think the fact that Junpei was a very depressed and bullied kid, and he was ignored by teachers and all that stuff. And Mahito took it upon himself to take him under his wing and sort of use Junpei. And basically, in order to do that, he destroyed or he reshaped the souls of 3 of his bullies and killed them practically in this movie theater, which was a cool introduction to Mahito's character. I think it was pretty menacing. I think they could have done a lot better job with Mahito's character. I think you might want to talk about that.
Yeah, I really don't like Mahito for a couple reasons. One, I think that he's like not necessarily annoying, but his personality isn't my favorite. I don't think he's very like he's a very interesting character. I don't think his goals are very fleshed out. But that could be due to the fact that it's only 13 episodes in, and I think he's part of the end game with the other 2, the lava guy, and what was his name, Jack?
Geto, I believe, the guy with the scar.
Geto. Yeah, I think he's pretty end game, so we might not. I can't really fault him for that, but I feel like his goals should have been at least a little bit introduced. And yeah, I'm not a huge fan of his character so far.
Yeah, we don't even know why he helped Junpei, why he sort of taught him these things. Yeah, I think the fact that Mahito took Junpei in is just a really cool plot line, parallel plot line to Itadori, and how Itadori actually made friends with Junpei, but after realizing that Mahito took him in and then eventually emotionally destroyed Itadori using Junpei, which was kind of, I guess, his goal all along. I'm not really sure, but I guess that could be considered his goal, although we really don't know his long-term motivations. But I think that was a cool goal for Mahito in this fight. Although I still don't like Mahito the character. Sorry, I rambled a lot on that one, but it's just kind of how I feel.
I think that actually, now that you say it, the whole manipulation of Junpei was actually pretty good writing. I feel like he really used Junpei's like emotional like distress to actually like physically make him do stuff, which, like you said, I do think that was his goal, and it also made him like create his own powers, which I think he had pretty cool powers.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously didn't last long, but I think they were pretty cool, and I think it led to Itadori's rage, which was a solid moment. But I really wish Mahito should have died because he should have. Let's be real. I mean, his power is like something to do with touching the souls of people, and like I don't know, he has like cursed transfiguration, so he really can't die unless you touch his soul. And Itadori is like one of the only ones who can do that. But even with his rage,
Yeah.
Mahito survived. So I don't really know how I feel about that. I guess
I
we'll see
don't
where
like
it
how he
goes.
just like escaped in the sewer. Like that was just stupid.
Yeah, I feel like that
Uh,
was kind of an asshole.
but we also got introduced to one of my underrated favorite characters, Nanami, in this fight, and I think that he's actually, honestly, one of the most fleshed out characters. Probably more fleshed out than anyone except Jinpei, Itadori, Gojo.
I would
I think
argue
he's
more than Itadori.
uh I could see that actually. I mean, Itadori did get a lot of good character moments, but this is not really the time to explain that, I think,
Yeah,
'cause we don't want to make this
elaborate
too
on
long.
Nanami.
But yeah, I think that Nanami is like his power is really cool, like the little ratio thing where he can just automatically find the weak point. I also think that he's pretty much, I think this is like a pretty obvious parallel, but he's pretty much the anti Gojo. He's not really as nice to Itadori. He's like pretty stern, but also like just as cool. He's not as powerful, but he's like still pretty powerful. We actually get a backstory to him in that he pretty much just was obsessed with money, and then eventually he realized that money. I think the whole point of him was that money isn't really everything, kind of, and that he just wanted to feel like his life wasn't being wasted. That's why I went back to Jujutsu Tech. I know I rambled there, but I think
No,
that's
yeah,
the point.
I think you're right. I think the mini backstory actually gives sort of a reason for him to join Jujutsu Tech because, as we know, he seems kind of like a salary man, like not too excited about much. But I mean, I think it's pretty funny how his special move is called overtime, like where if he works for over like 40 hours a week, he goes into some crazy state of curse technique and stuff like that. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
Yeah. All right. I mean, so I guess let's give our final ratings. What would you give it?
I would give Jujutsu Kaisen maybe a 7.5, 7 out of 10.
I would give it like a 7. Like if 5 is like an okay, and 10 is like a perfect, I would give it like a 7. Like it's good. Like it's solid.
Yeah, I think it's good. Nothing crazy though.
Yeah, a little overrated. But that's gonna be all for ItsMJAnime. Thank you all for watching. We appreciate all the support we can get. Make sure you're subscribing, liking, all that, and see you later.